Inflation continues to be a pressing issue for Grenada and other ECCU member countries, but the ECCB is suggesting a few areas that can turn the tide around. This story and more in the National Report.
Have you noticed an increase or decrease in your electricity bill? You know that changes in the fuel and non-fuel rates affect your bill. You should also be aware that changes in household activities affect your bill. Ask yourself these questions. Have the rates changed? Have there been more people at your home? Have your children been on holiday? Have you used your fan or air conditioning unit more often to beat the heat? Are any of your electrical appliances or equipment faulty? Have you added any new appliances such as transformers, water heaters, or pumps? Make it a habit to understand any changes on your electricity bill. For more factors that affect your bill, visit www.grenlec.com. Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
With the details to the news for Friday, 28th October 2022, I am Abigail McIntyre. Inflation continues to be a pressing issue for member states of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, the ECCU, as the purchasing power of households is negatively affected, and Grenada is no different. For the first half of 2022, the cost of food has increased by 39%, according to figures from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB. Grenada, being the third largest economy in the ECCU, coming after St. Lucia is number one and Antigua and Barbuda second, has been experiencing the impacts from external global shocks, namely the war in Ukraine and global inflation. Despite these challenges, Grenada has been performing well in the ECCU, with a good performance in the first 6 months of 2022 and projected continued growth for the remainder of the year. There is expected growth in agriculture production, improved digitization, and increased investment in infrastructural development. Economist with the research department of the ECCB and Son of the Soil, Leon Bullen, says inflation rose in 2021 and again in 2022, which has been negatively impacting the economy and the spending power of families in Grenada and the wider ECCU.
When you go to the supermarket, what you would have bought with $100, 2 months ago, you could no longer do that today, right? And so the purchasing power of households is being affected, negatively affected. Suffice it to say that our estimates for food inflation for the first 6 months of the year is 3.3%, and fuel at 2.5%. Now, fuel has been contained because the government has removed the consumption tax from fuel, and Grenada actually enjoys the lowest gasoline prices in the ECCU, largely on account of the removal of consumption tax. So it's a very positive development for Grenadians because that influences the cost of travel and the cost of doing business for certain industries. However, we will talk about that a little further on. But importantly, with respect to food, we note here that the cost of fertilizers for the first 6 months of this year has increased by 39%. Year on year, it's in excess of 100%. Right? Farmers buy fertilizers as a critical input in the farming business. So to the extent that fertilizers continue to increase, the cost of farming increases, the cost of the crops that they produce, or getting it to market increases. And so what we see ultimately at the supermarket is higher prices for some of the food that we produce locally. And so it's something that we have to watch very carefully.
Mr. Bullen was speaking at a media engagement this week as the final activity on the agenda of the ECCB country outreach mission to the island. In moving forward, the ECCB is suggesting some key areas that Grenada must address if the country is to truly transform its economy and the lives of citizens. Mr. Bullen says, coincidentally, these areas fall in line with government's transformational agenda. The first area he listed was food and nutrition security, stating the country must be able to feed itself. As it stands, Grenada's food import bill has been increasing over the last few years.
From $211.3 million in 2017 to to 253.4 million in 2021. Now, just to add that, the 2021 figure reflects both volume and value dimensions, right? If you import the same amount, same quantity, but the price increases, then the value of what you import increases. But we see a steady upward trend in the food import bill. We continue to be more and more dependent on the world to feed us. That is not sustainable. And if we want to transform the economies, we cannot continue in this direction. Right? I see some heads nodding. Just to say that Grenada sits at about the middle of the pack in terms of its food imports as a percentage of total imports at 20.9%. So 20.9% of everything we import is food. We're very much dependent on the world to feed us, and something that we need to change.
Another major area the ECCB is suggesting government address is the issue of renewable energy for energy security.
Everybody knows that electricity rates in Grenada are way too high, at between 35 and 40 US cents per kilowatt hour, compared to Trinidad, which is somewhere between 5 and 10 cents, right? It is not sustainable if we are to transform these economies. If we want to start a business, if we want to, especially in manufacturing, anything that uses energy as a critical input, we will not be able to compete with the likes of Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, if we continue to see rates of electricity at 35 to 40 US cents per kilowatt hour. It's just simply, it cannot happen. It is not viable to compete against the bigger boys within our own region. And so it is critical that we invest more in renewable energy, make it available to the grid, right? So that we can reduce our dependence on fossil. Same way we need to reduce our dependence on food, the world to feed us, we need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels to power the economy. Currently, Grenada stands, the renewable energy share stands at about 6.4% in terms of what's available for electricity. 6.4%. I think Grenada has a goal of 40% by 2030. And so you can see where we are and what needs to be done. I don't think we need to say any more on that.
The Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture will be implementing a new policy for the maintenance of major playing fields effective December 1st, 2022. In phase 1 of this implementation, 2 fields will be used as pilot fields with gradual implementation to the other major fields. This new arrangement is part of the ministry's mandate to ensure that playing fields are managed more effectively and will be supported by the implementation of the ministry's policy on sport and physical activity. Consequently, the arrangement with current contractors on these major fields only will be affected as the ministry transitions to the implementation of this new policy and reassures all affected that they will have an opportunity for consideration to be part of the process moving forward. A delegation of 13 cultural practitioners, led by CEO of the Spice Mass Corporation, Kelvin Jacob, left the island on Friday to participate in the inaugural Tobago Carnival, October 28th to 30th. The GIS caught up with the delegation at the departure area of the Morris Bishop International Airport. Mr. Jacobs says the delegation, though small, will represent various aspects of Spice Mass on the Tobago stage.
The delegation includes practitioners of Mass and soca and our groovy artists. So we are going to do our Road Match King and our Groovy King, and we have practitioners from Jav, Veco and Shotney. We'll be taking part in the Juve, and during that time we will be showcasing our traditional aspect of our carnival in Grenada, the traditional aspect of Spice Mass. So when visitors come to Grenada, the alternative that they can get into playing Mass, besides playing the pretty Mass, they can see our authentic Grenadian culture displayed in Grenada for Spice Mass.
Ian Charles of Jambalassi, Grenada, who since 2019 has taken a vested interest in telling, documenting and preserving Grenada's traditional jab and its sounds, is also part of the delegation and left the island for Tobago. Ian believes that the added exposure will create a greater hype for Spice Mass 2023.
It's massive because you get a chance to really portray authentic Grenadian drum patterns, shell patterns and spelling, which is something that is very integral right now with the whole worldwide reach at jab. So it's out of this world. It's great. You have the capital of Paraclete, you have the capital of Lafayette, you have the capital of Carrier, which goes under the name of Capital Jab. You also have the capital of Douglaston. So you have a lot of years, a lot of experience, real jabs that could go there and showcase real drum patterns, authentic spelling, and authentic shell blowing patterns. So you literally have cultural practitioners going down there to bring forth a true Grenadian authentic jab experience.
Ian says the jab will display its authenticity during the carnival and will be using charcoal to blacken the body to bring out the true effect of the jab mass.
We head down there with charcoal, which is good for your skin and good for the environment. So I think right now is a good time to kind of break away from the oil and make jab a little bit more inclusive to everybody, because our national product, well, one of our national products is jab, but we have to make sure that everybody can play it, and asking people to play jab with oil might be kind of rough for everybody to digest. So charcoal pigment we're going to be using in Tobago.
There will be other Grenada cultural practitioners participating in the Tobago Carnival that are not part of the 13-member delegation. This is a national report. More news after the break.
Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives has welcomed a technical training workshop with Argentine apiary experts and is looking forward to the benefits that can be derived from this engagement. Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, Mina Booker, reports.
The ministry, having placed agriculture, more so the beekeeping industry, as part of the priorities to transform the sector, believes that the opportunity presented can improve production of honey, standardize quality, and increase markets. The workshop was held as part of the Apiary Workshop project, which is a regional initiative spearheaded by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, the Government of Grenada, and the Ministries of Agriculture of these regional countries, including Grenada. Delivering remarks at the opening of the workshop in St. George's on Friday, Permanent Secretary Aaron Francois said the ministry will continue to invest into the industry and foresees several long-term benefits from this, which includes improved trading.
We have the creativity, we have the talent here that we can move the industry forward. So what we have to do, let us deal with the production issues, which we are going to take care of in that training, queen wearing. Let us address those production deficiencies that we have, the production challenges that we have. And I want to encourage you that you have, to assure you that you have the full support of the ministry and the government in terms of moving this very important industry forward.
Francois said this was one of the issues addressed at the recent Agri-Export Forum, attended by Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell and Minister of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives, Senator Adrian Thomas, recently. Grenada is benefiting from Phase 2 of the project, which will also improve the capacity to test honey quality and support the development of queen rearing stations. Argentine technical expert Elian Torn says the overall aim is to improve the queen stock in the Caribbean.
In that phase of the project, we hope we share about queen rearing production and bee health management. So we wanted to improve the queen stock, the beehive stock from all the countries from Caribbean, and to improve the health management of particularly a mite that's called Varroa, that is a mite that is affecting bees all around the world.
The API Caribbean Phase 1 began in 2019. Now that Grenada is benefiting from Phase 2, several of the beneficiaries say this was an important exercise at this time.
I'm a new beekeeper. The expansion of my hives is very important, and it will be good for me to know exactly how to do it and how to do it properly so that I can expand my hives and ultimately be able to have sufficient honey and honey products that I can actually offer for sale in the future.
This training session here on queen rearing, I think is very important because it is one of the stepping stones to the breeding program. And the breeding program is very much essential for the catalyzing of the apiculture industry. And it requires, and it's going to be able to benefit the apiculture industry in Grenada and the outcomes that want to be achieved from the various stakeholders, primarily that of pollination and honey production.
The delegation facilitating the workshop, comprised of technical experts Elian Thorne and Cecilia Pellegrini, who assisted the beekeepers to strengthen their capacity in areas of queen rearing, disease management of hives, and monitoring of queen stock. For the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives, I am Mina Booker.
Thank you, Mina. The national senior women's netball team returned from Jamaica on Thursday after participating in the America's World Cup qualifiers. The team was high in spirits before they left for the games, confident that they would take one of the two spots to qualify for the finals in Africa. The Spice Girls, however, placed fourth and was not able to meet their target goal. Captain of the team, Shakira Collymore, said with more preparation, she believes the results would be better, but she is still proud of her team.
We started training in July, whereas most of the top-ranked teams, they had series, some of them were at Commonwealth Games, so they had the exposure of playing competitively, and we only had the male team to compete with over the few months that we had to train. So I think with more preparation time, we would have gotten better results because we were neck and neck with the top teams up until halftime. So I think that is something that we needed to work on, and overall I think I'm still proud of our team, even if we didn't win the matches that we wanted to win, yeah.
Coach Althea McCollin says going forward, Grenada would need to play more competitive netball to raise the bar.
Fourth is not bad, but going to the World Cup, it would have been the first two because Jamaica is already qualified, so it was like the first two of the tournament, and they were expected to be in the first two. But fitness, mental preparedness, all those things came into play because the games played like twice a day and back to back. So it was a lot on them being the time that they started. But otherwise, they tried and they put their best foot forward.
Alison Miller, president of the Grenada Netball Association, said Grenada should be proud as the Spice Girls were not easily defeated. Miller added that the resurfacing of old injuries affected their play.
All in all, I think we had a good tournament. I think we gave a good account of ourselves. And moving forward, we hope to start scouting and looking for younger talent because we have some very senior players who will be moving on or should be moving on, and so we hope to start doing some scouting and getting some younger players. We know we have the secondary schools tournament on, so we're hoping to be on the court and to look for the young talent because we know we have it. All of Jamaica who have seen us played have said that they like our style of netball. Yes, the coach for Jamaica could not believe that we beat them. We were the only team to beat them in one quarter. Everybody else got licks.
Registration for the finals of the Ministry of Sports Blue Bubbles National Cross Country Championship closes on Monday, October 31st. The Ministry of Sports is encouraging interested schools and clubs to register before the deadline. Registration must be done online at trackyreg.com for teams to participate in the competition. Each team can register 4 persons per division. The finals of the Ministry of Sports Blue Bubbles National Cross Country Country Championship will be held on November 4th from the golf course. Preliminary races have been held in preparation for the final race in St. Andrew, St. David, and St. George's, respectively. The National Cross Country Championship is organized by the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, and Culture to build endurance capacity of athletes and to prepare student athletes for their annual sports meets. That story brings us to the end of the National Report for today, Friday, 20th October 2022. Recapping the top story, inflation continues to be a pressing issue for Grenada and other ECCU member countries, but the ECCB is suggesting a few areas that can turn the tide around. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Abigail McIntyre. Thank you for joining us.